Welcome everyone. This is Ali Azzuddin from 4th Generation for Education. I'm so happy to start a series of math session and math webinars, and the first webinar related to math is today with Nadine. Think as a mathematician. Nadine, welcome. All the attendees who are watching us live in Zoom, make sure you are putting all panelists and attendees. You can ask any question to Nadine in the QA, and I'm going to keep an eye on Facebook, Nadine, to check our people who are attending on Facebook. So go ahead, let us know more about you, and good luck for this experience, Nadine.
Okay, thank you so much, Ali, for this introduction. And as you were saying, yes, I was a little bit nervous, before you start the webinar, some tech issues, links working and not working. Thank you again, Ali, for your support. And it's me, Nadine. I would like also to welcome you for today's webinar. Today, we will be exploring how to think as a mathematician from the educators and learners mindset. So welcome all of you again. Before we start diving into the world of mathematics, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. So I am a PYP Math and Science subject leader. I'm sure, Ali, are you able to see my next slide?
No, it didn't move to the next slide.
Even from my side, I think.
Yeah, you need to go down in the corner, to see this arrow. Perfect. Very good. Okay, Nadine. So
I am a PYP Math and Science subject leader at an international school. Also, I have been a PYP homeroom teacher and a grade level leader. And this is my 10th year in the field of education. So now, what are we going to expect in today's webinar? In today's webinar, we will be looking together at what does it mean to think like a mathematician, and how can we explore mathematics through the lens of a mathematician? What are some engaging tools that we can implement in our classrooms in order to facilitate the learning and teaching of mathematics? And why is it important to think through the lens of a mathematician? And by the end of the webinar, we will be reflecting together on how our thinking as a mathematicians changed.
We're so excited, Nadine, to listen to the answers and to interact with you during this webinar.
I am also excited.
So let's start with the first question.
Okay, now actually we're going to start with the first activity. And I really want to know, what does it mean to think like a mathematician from your perspective? And as a first activity, what I would like from you to do is to look closely at this blob tree and try to find the blob figure that represents you the most as a mathematician. Use please the chat feature to type up the number of the blob figure and mention the reason. Why did you choose this figure? And Ali, yes, please share with me the responses.
I would say maybe I'm number 14. I'm falling down. Shakira, can you explain why you are saying number 11? So please put the number and the explanation, in the same chat. Otherwise, I will be confused while I'm reading your answers. 2, because I love to help everyone.
Okay, supporting others.
This is Umayma. And then the people on Facebook who are watching us, again, feel free to write in the chat of Facebook which person is you. And Shakira is saying 11 because she needs more support. Zaina is saying 12 because Nadine is her mentor. 11 from Anoop because she prefers collaboration. 15, I enjoy the math. Many of the people are moving between 11 and 12. I love learning in 12. Number 1, because I'm grappling with the problem. 12, I like to teach math in the real life. 20, because I'm good at problem solving. Rawan and everyone else, just a small reminder, make sure you are clicking next to 2, all panelists and attendees in the chat. Anita is saying 16. Because sharing with others and the collaboration. Vishnu, I'm passionate about math, so maybe Vishnu is a math expert, and she said 20, or he said, Vishnu, it's a male, right? 5 from Lakshmi, 5, because it's my first year teaching math and I need some help. So Nadine, this is a quick round about all the people who are attending and watching with us, where they are on this block tree. So I think we're ready to continue, right?
Yes, thank you, Ali, for sharing your responses. Well, what I can say as a conclusion that each one of us perceives mathematics from a different perspective or from a different lens. And personally, I do perceive mathematics also from a different perspective. And in a while, I will be sharing with you how do I perceive mathematics. So I perceive mathematics from the lens of an educator, and I usually connect it to the following poem. Math is like ice cream with more flavors than you can imagine. And if all your children ever do is textbook math, that's like feeding them broccoli flavored ice cream. So in my perspective, and for sure, I'm sure that everybody agrees with me that math is way beyond textbook and worksheets. It's like making math as an adventure for our learners, as an adventure of exploration, drawing connections to real life situations, an adventure of playing. In addition to seeing myself from the perspective of an educator, I also see myself from the perspective of a learner. And I usually connect it to the following visual. A good mathematician wants to know how. A great mathematician wants to know why. So in mathematics, it's not only about how. How did I think about it? How did I perceive this? It's also about the why, thinking about my thinking, to make my thinking and reasoning visible to myself and to others as well. So that was basically for how do I perceive mathematics from the lens of an educator and from the lens of a learner.
Nadine, my daughter would love your definition about the ice cream because she loves ice cream. And so.
But definitely not broccoli flavor.
Yes. Yes, Anita, yes, I know that the slides are not very clear today, so I'm not sure why we are having a little bit of a technical problem, but we will enjoy the chat with Nadine. So Nadine, we can continue. I have another Nadine watching on Facebook, and she said she's falling down from the tree because of the online learning. So maybe today you are going to give us also some tips, Nadine, of the online.
Sure. Thank you, Ali, and thank you for our attendees who are being interactive and reflective as well. Now, diving into the world of real mathematics. So how are we going to explore mathematics through the lens of the me mathematician and the we mathematicians? And I'm sure that now many of you are thinking, oh, what do these phrases mean and what do they stand for? As a second activity now, this is what I would like to hear from you. I would like to hear, what do you think the me and the we mathematicians, in your opinion, stand for? And Ali, also, I would appreciate if you start sharing with us the responses.
So Nadine is asking you, what do you think the me and the we mathematicians stand for? And let's check what those words stands for in the chat or on Facebook. If you are interacting with us, let me hear your perspective. Okay, so the one started, me is my perspective. Zena is saying that we is when students collaborate with each other and inquire into concepts. We is what we came up as a group. Me is my ideas. We is the group work. We working together. Me is for my perspective and we is for the team. We is teaching and learning experience. We is math with S and not math without S. Me subjective and we the team. So those are plenty of the ideas that they are coming in that chat, Nadine. And it's very fast, so I cannot read everything. Me is just me. Me benefits from we. This is interesting. I
like the connection here.
Yes, I can only connect with the set of theory, a kind of, and then they are saying Venn diagram. Me must become we. How we can learn together. Reverse the M, it becomes the W. So this is a kind of a playing with the words. Yes, yes. So those are the mathematicians thinking outside the box, Nadine. So you have experts today.
I agree with you. I really like the level of thinking, Ali, and the reflection that's happening around. And many of the answers that you shared are almost similar to what we are going now to share in the upcoming slides. So first of all, we are going to start with the me mathematician. So who is the me mathematician? The me mathematician is the solo learner or the solo mathematician who thinks about mathematics inventively and creatively, who is able to draw math connections to real life experiences, and who is as well able to make math language connections. And here where the me mathematician starts using specific terminologies and describing certain situations or activities. So this is basically for the me mathematician or me learner. Now, in a while, we are going to look at examples of how the me mathematicians really thought about their mathematics in a unique and creative way. And we will be starting with a video. Actually, I like this video a lot. It really means a lot to me. And in this video, you will realize the me mathematician made her understanding of comparing fractions visible. And she used also she uses specific terms in order to make her understanding and reasoning visible. And also she used visuals. So let's watch this video together.
One strategy to figure out fractions is drawing. For example, if I have 1 over 2 and 1 over 3, I can draw 2 equal circles, and the first circle will have 2 equal parts, and the second circle will have 3 equal parts. And from these drawings, I would see that 1 over 2 is larger than 1 over 3. Another strategy I can use is to look at the denominator. And the larger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. For example, if I have 3 over 5 and 3 over 8, I will look at the denominator. The lowest denominator is the largest. So I would see that 3 over 5 is larger than 3 over 8. And if I have 1 over 4 and 1 over 7, I would see that 4 is the lowest denominator, so 1 over 4 is larger than 1 over 7. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So actually, well, when I really personally listen to this video, I just, have goosebumps how the chain of thinking, how she modeled her strategies. And I'm sure that many of our learners, when they are given and the opportunity, and the right opportunity, they are able to do so. In addition to this example, now we will be looking at another me mathematician.
Nadine, can we try if I share my screen from my side?
Sure, Ali. Yes.
Okay.
Let me then stop sharing. Okay.
And let us know if you are able to see a better screen now by using this with you. So do you see a better screen? Nadine, now are you able to see the chat? Because now you can see the chat. Are they seeing a better screen?
Well, from my side, not that much clear. I'm not sure if also the attendees, I think it's taking a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Ali.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think now, because also I'm able to see it on Facebook, I think it's getting better. And yes.
Yes, we are receiving answers. Yes, Ali.
Yes.
Okay.
You can take the lead, and then I will do the slides.
Sure. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Ali, for this initiative. Okay. So now, thank you. Now, looking at another example also of a me mathematician, and this learner thought about line graphs in a unique way. Actually, it was an activity where they had to brainstorm some events, some special events that defined their lives. And he took his thinking further and plotted such events on a line graph. And he even challenged himself to do it digitally. I guess it was his first time he does digital line graphs. Okay, Ali.
Yes.
I think we're ready to move on into the next slide.
Yes.
Looking at more examples now. And here's the real work of the me mathematicians. So we all hear about projects in mathematics, and we know how projects are so important, especially when they are engaging and relevant to our learners. So what's important about projects is always to support our learners with a rubric in order to track their own progress, to set goals, and to know to where they are heading, whether now or next. And guess what? Projects isn't just, adding something additional to our plate, but it's also like rearranging our plate to give more ownership for our children, more voice, and a room for prototyping, for research, and for inquiry. So that's mainly for the projects, and really how it's so important to find a room for our learners to dive into the world of projects. And it will also give them a chance to draw the connections across concepts. So as you notice, for instance, in one of the board games, the learner just thought about the operations and the inverse of operations in mathematics, and he went and designed and created this board game, definitely with the rules, and some of them took it beyond having some answer keys for certain mathematical equations. Okay, Ali, I think we're ready to move on into the next slide.
Yes, I'm with you.
Thank you, Ali. Okay, now the we mathematicians. So what we saw is mainly what? A product. And for sure, there is a lot happening behind the screen. And definitely thanks for all of our educators who do a lot. So the we mathematicians, starting with the educators, the real soldiers, and what do we do in order to cater for the needs of our learners? So when we talk about the we mathematicians, it's the community of mathematicians that's composed of us, the educators, and that's composed as well of the learners. So first of all, we are going to dive into and to zoom in into how can we make a community of mathematicians. So Ali, let's just move on to next slide. Thank you. So here's an example of a example for the we mathematicians and for our learners, how we promoted an engagement that had them to interact together. So here they had to create word problems, actually multiplication word problems. And in return, they had to wait for responses from their classmates in order to share their strategies or to give their feedback. It was a great room for the learners to be exposed to various chain of thinking and to various strategies in return. Also, we will be looking now, Ali, at another example of the we mathematicians. Here in this example, our learners created addition word problems, but here the tool is changed. In the previous slide, they used an interactive PowerPoint, but in this example, they used videos, and actually the tool specifically was Flipgrid. So they had to take videos of themselves, recording some addition word problems with regrouping, and in return, they had to wait for their classmates' responses. And it turned out that this tool and this learning engagement was so helpful for our learners. It helped them to just, be really very expressive and to develop their math accountable talk moves in terms of adding on each other's ideas, asking each other's questions through videos, acknowledging each other's way of thinking, and brainstorming some key points or terms that were used within the word problems. And now also we are going to look at also, Ali, another example of the we mathematicians. So I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the answer garden, and we use it not only in mathematics but in many disciplines. But here I would like to share with you how did we personally use it in mathematics. So our learners were tuning in into how are numbers used in the world around them, and they had to share their responses. It was a great tool for them, to run the discussion among each other, to build on each other's ideas, and to also reflect on the most repetitive responses. Oh, what do you think, okay, about using, for example, numbers in the supermarket? How do we use it? Looking at the function of using numbers specifically in certain places or in certain events or activities. So I think this was mainly it for the we mathematicians and speaking specifically about learners. Okay. So here another example. Well, actually both are related to a specific concept and rounding, and I put them actually on purpose. I would love to share with these artifacts with you. So in the first one, the learner just made their mathematical thinking, visible about rounding through creating rounding tips and tricks. And as you notice that she just brainstormed the steps. While in the other one, to see how our learners really think about mathematics from a different perspective, made the connection between rounding and the football also. And as you notice at the football court, and he just, used some illustrations and some statements in order to explain his understanding of how to round numbers. And the connection that I really liked is he made, talking about the power of the ball. So if the digits, for example, are 4 or less, then the power will not, the football will not enter the net. But if 5 or more, then the football will enter the net. So really creative learners, and really amazing and I really say it, when we give them the opportunity, they will rise and shine in such learning experiences. Okay, now talking about the real us, the educators. And as I mentioned from before, that all of these learning tools, all of these learning experiences, there are true soldiers that are really working from the bottom of their hearts to make this learning successful for our learners. So I would like to highlight how can we as learners build a community of mathematicians, educators, to build a community of mathematicians. And there are some aspects that I would like to share with you, and we do implement in our school. So Ali, I would just appreciate if we move on into the next slide. Okay, so and this is what we call it, actually the pillar. I personally call it the pillar. It's known as the math deliverable, or we can say the mapping of concepts, where we map the concepts in terms of integrated or standalone. And it acts as a timeline to keep, the time frame of each concept, how, for example, how many days, how many weeks will this concept take. In addition to setting a time frame for the mathematical concepts and for the skills, we also think about some resources or tools that will facilitate the learning and the teaching. And for sure, most importantly, reflection that's always ongoing. So we reflect on the efficiency of the tools. And we reflect sometimes maybe the concepts took more than the allotted time. Oh, so here we have to pause and reflect. Is it because of the complexity of the concept? Is it because that we missed some prerequisites in mathematics and we should have covered before? Or maybe our learners were not that much ready at that stage to tackle this concept. So in addition to the math deliverable, there's also other aspects that I would like to share with you. And here comes the real work, and how do we build a community of mathematicians. So we usually conduct weekly math meetings at our schools, and we don't only share the content or the teaching and the learning in terms of the, the concepts tackled and the terms of the learning outcomes and so on, but we also focus on the assessment in terms of how often. How will feedback look like? Is it going just to be peer assessment, self-assessment, teacher? And what does the data tell us? So after we did all of these assessments, what does it tell us in terms of mastery, in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding? And also here, most importantly, reflection. We reflect on how is our students' understanding of mathematical concepts shaping up, and what's working and not working for our learners. How effective were the tools, if we still require some extension of certain mathematical concepts or not. And as educators also, it's so important to set next steps, to know where we are going to head, either in the coming future or maybe depending on, maybe next week, depending on what we are really discussing in our meeting for setting goals. Okay, now, and this is the dissection of the math sessions. So how does the math session look like? Definitely there is a lot to think about in terms of the number sense routines that we are implementing, in terms of the specific learning objectives that will be tackled within this day or within this week or within the unit. And what are some key terminologies that we will be focusing on and that we will be communicating with our children? What are some questions, probing questions, that we will be also implementing within our sessions in terms of drawing connections to help our learners draw connections, in terms of problem solving, making their thinking and reasoning visible. And for sure, the specific tools, resources that will be utilized, and for sure, the duration of each learning engagement, just to keep track of time. Okay, now here I would like to share with you something that's special, and it was based on our reflection last year, especially during virtual learning. So we were teaching remotely, and it turned out from our reflection that, we have to stop, because we have to do something special for our mathematicians, especially for the gifted learners and for the early finishers. And what we decided in certain grade levels, and since we were using Teams to create math challenge channels, and such channels included brain teasers and problem solving. It was a very successful collaborative tool for our learners, where they had to share answers together, to give feedback to each other. But guess what? It was also a bridge for us, the educators, to interact with the children, also to make our mathematical thinking visible to them, to share with them these strategies, to give them feedback, and to acknowledge their work. Okay, so yes, we can move on, Ali. Thank you. Okay, now I'm sure now a lot of you are just thinking, what are some tools, that can help us in facilitating the learning and teaching of mathematics? And since Ali shared with me that some are still new, maybe it was their first year, something like that at the beginning in teaching mathematics. Okay, now for those who are experts, or for those who have been a couple of years in the domain of teaching, I would like us now to share together in the chat box what are some engaging tools that facilitate the learning and teaching of mathematics. I can see.
Okay, so Nadine, while you were talking, many people were writing it was very inspiring, the talk, and now they started answering your question, telling us we need to use base 10 blocks, we need to use counters, Padlet is making everyone collaborate, using colors, using geoboard, unifix cubes, a flashcard, tens frame, number tiles. Padlet is coming again in that chat to teach mathematics. And again, other than mathematics, Padlet is a very nice collaborative tool. So let's pick the brain of our mathematicians here and share with us and share with the new teacher some of your engaging tool and resources, or maybe website, right, Nadine? If they can share with us some websites that they are using.
Yes, for sure.
Rawan is saying class note on math on Microsoft Teams, on Facebook. Nancy is saying use a lot of hands-on activity. And then we have people are talking about Seesaw, the small whiteboard, the small whiteboards, the virtual one and the real one, right, Shaden? So these are some of the ideas that we got from the chat using flip chart, Jamboard. Try to also do some group work virtually in a breakout room. Another person is saying Jamboard is great. Kahoot, interactive clocks, yes, to teach the concept of time. So those are some of the ideas, Nadine. Do you want more, or we can continue?
if we are going to list more, we will not end up till tomorrow, you know, Ali, because we have a lot of tools. And I'm just really glad of the variety of the tools that they've shared with us. Well, wow, that's really great.
Okay, now, Nadine, let me remind the people if they want to ask any question to send it in the Q&A, and we will have a look at those by the end of the session or before the end of the session. And now we will continue with you.
Okay, so now talking about classroom manipulatives. We all know that, and we're used to classroom manipulatives. We all know that classroom manipulatives are the pillars in mathematics, and they're great for hands-on instructional approach. But here comes the question, especially when we started teaching remotely. How can we replace the classroom supplies and the classroom manipulatives with something else? Well, guess what? The answer is very easy. And it turned out from the chat that you also know this. I like the variety between online and the hands-on ones. So as we all know, counters and manipulatives are present in the environment. And what's important about the tool, no matter what the tool is, whether the actual one or the interactive or the digital one, it's so important to communicate with our learners the purpose and the objective of using the tool. So other than the objective, how will it serve the learning approach as well? And here are some questions, okay, that we can always just keep in mind while we are serving our learners with certain tools. For instance, what do you know about this tool? What do you know about base 10? Okay, how is this tool specifically used to explore this mathematical concept? And how will using this tool help us as mathematicians? So I personally believe it's not only about using tools, but it's also about drawing the connection to the concept and knowing that this tool might be also used for more than one concept. And here's the fun part about it. Now, in the first example, also last year we were challenged because in one of the grade levels, they had to inquire into place value, and we were teaching remotely, and we were used to inquire into place value with our learners using the actual or the classroom-based blocks. But we had to just think about it differently to challenge ourselves and to challenge our learners. And what we asked from them is to just use some materials and some tools at home, like beads, coins, paper clips, and so on. And also we left it open, if they don't have such tools, they can use other tools. And they went, and they made their mathematical understanding of ones and tens visible. And how we made sure of that, they took videos of themselves. Also, the tool was Flipgrid, and definitely teachers gave feedback on that. So this was mainly for the place value activity and not having the actual base 10 blocks. And this year, in one of the grade levels also, we challenged ourselves, but differently. We used the interactive base 10. So see how we can just give sometimes the choice to our learners. Maybe we can give them to use the interactive, the choice of using the interactive or the actual beads or any other counter. Now, here's another example of how our learners also thought about mathematics even when we were teaching remotely. So they were inquiring into the unit of measurement, specifically non-standard unit of measurement. And also, unfortunately, they did not have actual scales at home, not all of them. So what we did, we challenged them to create their own scales, even from, simple materials at home, like paper clips, plastic cups, the cloth hanger, and so many other tools. And believe me, they were so creative. Also, they demonstrated their understanding of the non-standard unit of measurement through videos, and they build on each other's ideas, giving feedback and acknowledging their work. Okay, now moving on into the digital now tools. So in the first example, the geoboard example, last year also we were teaching remotely, and our learners were inquiring into shapes, specifically transformation of shapes. Also, they were used to the actual geoboards, and here was the real challenge. So we supported them with an online or a digital geoboard, and they had to reveal their understanding of how shapes flip, turn, and slide. And guess what? Some of them really impressed us, how they integrated other mathematical concepts while using this online tool. They went, for example, beyond this concept and integrated symmetry and other also concepts. And in the other example, the Padlet, which many of you mentioned, and I personally call it, it's the virtual gallery walk. We are all used that when we do some mathematics at school, we just hang children's work and posters around, and they just go and give feedback to each other. But the Padlet serves now this purpose, especially many of us are teaching remotely. And in this example, learners were just brainstorming math about me, and each one of them thought about mathematics from a different perspective. Some of them, for example, did a poster, some of them did the handmade one, and so on. And they just looked at each other's, praised each other's work, and gave feedback to each other. Okay, now here comes the real reflection and delivery. So why is it important to think through the lens of a mathematician? So as a learners, I believe that reflection on how do they know and what they know is so important. And also analyzing different perspectives and points of views, learning from others' strategies, from others, ways of thinking as well is so important. And here we refer back to the community of mathematicians, how it's important. So it's not only the me mathematician, but it's also the we mathematicians. When we collaborate together as mathematicians, when we work together, when we learn from each other, when we build on each other's knowledge. And for sure, constructing the so what and the so why. Okay, now what and why? And going back to what I said and I mentioned in the beginning, where I shared with you the poster about why. So it's thinking about my thinking in mathematics. It's not just sharing, my strategy and that's it, but really I should dive into my strategy. Even if I want to communicate it to myself or if I want to communicate it with others. Now, as educators, well, there is a lot to say, and I'm sure that you have a lot to say. So first of all, it's so important to think about mathematics as having relevant and engaging learning experiences. So this is the key in mathematics. And also, we have to encourage our mathematicians to always promote this community of mathematicians. And also we have to interact with them. It's not only about the learners, but we as educators are learners. And sometimes we learn a lot from our mini learners. And for sure, to promote mathematics through as well a useful context. So that's mainly for the learners and the educators. And by the end of this webinar, I would like just us to reflect on how did your thinking change as a mathematician, or if there are certain learning experiences or tools you're going to implement, please feel free to share such answers with us in the chat feature.
So Nadine, again, a lot of messages saying this was inspiring, and let's check where are
Thank you,
they on
Ali,
the
and
block
thank you for
tree.
the attendees.
Hopefully they are moving up now and they gained a new understanding about the we mathematician, your concept that you introduced today, and all those learning experiences that you shared with us uh, uh, for the online learning, and how you try to change the thinking of the student and the manipulatives that exist also at home. So while I'm waiting for all those comments and feedback in the chat, I'm also looking at Facebook, and I want to remind all the attendees that if they have any question, to send it to Nadine. Feel free to share it with us now in the Q&A so we can share our experience and we can reflect together. I'm waiting for those people who are going to send us in the chat their ideas about the block tree and if they are moving. So everyone is insisting and telling us it was an amazing presentation, but let's do the reflection, attendees, and tell us where are you on the tree after this sharing from Nadine. And if you have any question to ask her, feel free to send it in the Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. And you still have one thing, Nadine, so I'm going maybe...
Yes. This was mainly the closure. One more quote, I think, yeah.
Okay, so one more quote. Let's go to this quote and share with everyone the links of Nadine. So go ahead, Nadine.
Well, yes, I would like to just before we take the Q&A, so I would like to share with you this quote. The essence of mathematics is not to make simple things complicated, but to make complicated things simple. And this is, I believe, what we are trying to do, especially now with the remote learning. And I'm sure that a lot of really engaging and fun learning experiences are happening around, not just at our school.
Good, Nadine. So here it's time to talk a little bit about fourth generation for education. And as you can see, you can check our YouTube channel, Twitter account, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook. And while I'm waiting for the questions in the Q&A, I would like to remind everyone that on the 17th of October, a very busy day, 7 webinars, all about concepts, all published on our website. So a generic session on concepts, a session on concepts and assessment, a session on concepts in the early year, a session in concepts in PE, additional language, music, and an Arabic session. So feel free to join us using our website. I'm going to share with you the website now, and I'm going to share the YouTube channel because Nadine webinar will be published tomorrow. And let me tell you the question, Nadine. So question number 1, Casey, can you consider early years? We've done a full day for early years. You can check the videos on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to share this in that chat now. You can check those sessions about early years. And then in our day about concepts, we have a session for early years as well. Keep an eye on the website and our Facebook page. And we have a special day for math. As I told you, Nadine is starting this kind of cycle.
I'm just excited about this day,
math
Ali.
webinar. So for sure, we will have a specific session for early years. I have another question from Alavia. Okay, usually, Alavia, we don't share the slides. You are going to have the YouTube video and then you can see everything via the YouTube. Romana is asking Nadine, how long should we spend for grade 1 class to teach a new concept?
Oh, well, I can say it depends on the concept and the readiness of the learners as well. So this is basically it, to take just these factors into consideration. And this is what we usually do as well.
Okay, any other question from our participants? So Nadine is happy to answer your question, and we hope that you enjoyed all those tips that we shared with you. Yes, I have more questions. People are engaged, Nadine. I teach grade 6 and 7 and finding really hard to assess their understanding. So how can we assess the understanding?
Okay, well, this is a good question. I'm not sure what tools are they using. Is it they are teaching remotely or not? This is what I really would like to hear from our participant in order just to help him or her out.
Okay, so Basma, if you tell us, are you teaching? She's using Microsoft Teams.
Okay, so that's great. Now also we're using Teams, and for assessments, we are mainly now using Microsoft Forms for this. So this is also an additional tool that you can use for your assessments. Any other questions,
So we
Ali?
have a very special event about Microsoft and using those forms with another mathematician. So Basma, keep an eye. It will be a paid workshop because now we are also running those workshops, not just the free webinar. So the publication will be very soon. Keep an eye on that. Other question. So again, how we can embed reflection in mathematics, Nadine? So any
Okay,
recommendation when
that's a
reflection
nice
is
tool.
done?
Okay,
Nice question.
so exactly, we can do it actually in a variety of ways. Sometimes we can do exit slips with our children. Sometimes we can just ask some probing questions like the ones that I have shared in my previous in one of my previous slides. And sometimes we can use visible thinking routines as well as a way or a form of reflection.
Okay, one more. So some ideas for online formative assessment, Nadine, in grade 4 and 5.
Okay,
And I
also
see
in addition
Saria is
to,
putting a lot of answers in the chat
thank you,
because the
yes,
participants are answering. They said try Kahoot, quizzes,
quizzes, yes,
so all those are ideas to be used.
Microsoft Forms.
Okay, Rich is saying, what specific visible thinking routine you have used in math? Do you have any specific one?
Yes, for example, stage one, bridge, think, puzzle, explore. What I know now. So we have a lot of visible thinking routines that we can implement. So for, let's say, zoom in also works in mathematics.
And then let me ask them, do you need another session with Nadine? So let us know in the chat. So another session with Nadine to explore more the math and the mathematical thinking. Let me say for sure, yes, plenty of them are saying yes. Someone asked me, are we going to get an evaluation form? Yes, so tomorrow we are sending a very simple form. Give us your feedback on the session. You are going to get also the YouTube link by tomorrow. So usually it's an automatical email that comes from Zoom 24 hours after the session. And let me take the final question. How can we make mathematical learning visible?
Okay, well, actually, what we shared now today, it's all about how to make mathematical learning and reasoning visible. So through the tools that we are using, through the levels and the types of questioning as well. In this way, we can promote and make mathematical learning visible.
Nadine, I would like to thank you and thank everyone on
Thank
Facebook.
you,
I'm going
Ali,
now to
and
stop
thank you
the
for
live
our
streaming on
attendees.
Facebook. And let me tell all our attendees that we had this technical problem and I was logged in on my phone on Facebook and I was on 3 different screens to make sure that this event is going well. Nadine, hopefully next time now you get used to our webinars and you get
Yes.
used to the whole energy and the dynamic. We don't give certificates, ladies and gentlemen, when we have a free webinar. We have paid certificates when we have a thematic day. So just have a look at our website to know more about our thematic day and our certified webinars where you need to pay a small amount to be able to get the certificates. Okay, otherwise I will be spending my whole life doing certificates for all our attendees. Nadine, thank you again.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you for all of you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.